20 people are dead following a horrific limousine accident in upstate New York. Tony DeCopo reports from the scene of the crash in Schoharie.
20 people are dead in upstate New York after a crash involving an apparently out-of-control stretch limousine.
A 2001 Ford Excursion limousine was traveling southwest on State Route 30 and failed to stop at the intersection. The limousine traveled across the intersection into a parking lot and struck a 2015 Toyota Highlander that was unoccupied and parked.
It happened Saturday afternoon in Schoharie, a town at the edge of the Catskill Mountains, about 170 miles north of New York City.
Everyone inside the limousine was killed. 2 pedestrians standing nearby were also struck and killed.
A relative told CBS News that the victims in the limo had been on a wine tour of the local vineyards. Amy Dunlop Johnson says 3 members of her family died in the crash.
20 fatalities is just horrific. I've been on the board for 12 years, and this is one of the biggest loss of lives that we've seen in a long, long time.
A woman who lives nearby says she heard the crash and immediately knew it was bad.
I heard this loud bang. I came out, and then I heard screaming. I walked up, and I could see this large van, very unusual looking vehicle for out here in Schoharie, in the bushes and really wrecked.
The tragedy is being investigated by both the National Transportation Safety Board and New York State Police. Neither agency has speculated as to a possible cause. Tony DeCopo, CBS News, Schoharie, New York.
Before he was the smooth-talking sage in a V-neck sweater on YouTube, when you get to something that's authentic, you experience this type of creativity, this soul. Before he founded the strange and secretive group with a name like a Roman numeral, before he was arrested and charged with sex trafficking, Keith Raniere had a checkered past as an alleged schemer and rip-off artist. His first big idea was hawking memberships in an ill-fated network marketing company called Consumers Byline. His name is Keith Raniere. His idea is called Consumers Byline. Consumers Byline. This promotional video for Consumers Byline from the 1990s features the late Eddie Albert of Green Acres fame. And a painfully awkward pitchman, 31-year-old Keith Raniere. Keith, happy to see you again? Yes, happy to see you too. It's an amazing idea. Yes, well, sometimes it even amazes me. But Consumers Byline is wonderful, and it's working. And it really wasn't really an idea. It was based on the premise of as a group collectively we can buy in bulk and get save a lot of money. Tony Natale knew Raniere before he was Vanguard. She even appears in this 1993 American Spotlight program lauding Consumers Byline. Traditional markups are between 400% and 800% in the cosmetic industry. Tony says she fell for Keith Raniere's pitch, which included the astounding claim that Raniere was one of the smartest people in the world. He scored one of the 3 highest IQs ever recorded. When you met him, did he seem like a genius? He seemed like a geek. When I sat down and I asked him, I said, so, you have a 240 IQ. Why are you doing this? Why aren't we curing cancer? Why aren't we really making a difference? And he said, this is the platform that I'm going to use, and I'm going to change the world. Unlike the man from Green Acres, attorneys general in several states didn't think Raniere's idea was quite so amazing, or honest. We first told you about Consumer's Byline last May when the company was accused of being an illegal pyramid scheme. Consumer's Byline settled without admitting wrongdoing, but promised to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the states. After that, the company went bust. By that time, Tony Natali says she was on her way to becoming one of Ranieri's first casualties. She had left her husband and moved to Albany with her young son to be with Keith. They were together for nearly 6 years, until she left in 1999. She says in all-night talks, Keith drew out all of her secrets.
Here's the smartest man in the world, wanting to help you through your emotional issues. And the reason that you're stuck in this world, and the reason that you can't move on, and the reason you can't grow, is because you haven't learned how to heal that thing inside of you.
I'll help you.
I'm gonna help you.
Make it all better.
I'm gonna help you heal sexually, and I'm gonna help you heal intellectually. I'm going to show you the path.
Like other empowerment groups, NXIVM has its own lingo. Students are taught about overcoming disintegrations to become more potent and less suppressive, and avoiding people termed parasites or Luciferians. According to former members, the sessions came to involve practices such as bowing and a special handshake. At NXIVM's Albany headquarters, people inside can be seen wearing sashes. Former members say different colors denote rank. Former coach Margot Joy Leviton says classes begin with the ritual hand clap.
We do something that we would call a huddle, so everyone would put their arms around each other in this big circle. And then straight into the mission statement.
Marco says anyone unwilling to go along with the rituals would be scorned.
You would just suppress them and be like, oh, they just don't get it. They just don't get it.
I mean, if you step out of line, you get punished. You get a lot of like strong thought control, leveled at you. And you get told, what does that mean? It means basically like using intellect to try to out-logic you. To basically say, you're the problem. This problem you're bringing us, you're the problem. If you question Keith Raniere, hits the fan. I've had people killed because of my beliefs, and because of their beliefs, and because of things that I've said. Just watch Raniere's reaction when a group of NXIVM women confront him about the running of the organization.
The effects are that our country is falling apart.
You don't have experience of leadership.
Okay.
You don't have experience of preserving people's lives with what you said and the truth of the matter is. Yes, it did. From filmmakers to fledgling actors, NXIVM seems to have had a special attraction for rising stars.
You can see how someone coming along and saying, I think you're special. I think you're amazing. All those doors that are slamming in your face, all those auditions you're getting rejected from, I've got the secret to make that all turn around. It can seem pretty appealing. No, you viral life. Jen Cobalt is an aspiring actress in Vancouver, but when she joined NXIVM, she says her classmates treated her like a star. It was like I was a celebrity. Like I walked in and everyone was like, "Who's that girl?" They were so nice to me. She says members were encouraged to socialize with other members. Outside friends faded away. We were told things, not directly, but subtly, about, who do you want to surround yourself with? Do you want to be surrounded by people who are, just living their life? Or do you want to be surrounded by people who have an ethical mission to change the world? In a recent statement, NXIVM claims a 10-year study shows extraordinary psychological benefits and results from its teachings. And Margot, the former coach, says NXIVM changed her life in positive ways. But she also describes feeling bullied and manipulated by some of the training, which, she says, caused her psychological trauma. It feels like they got in there and they messed with my wiring or how I think or my perceptions.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Traffic snake. All right, welcome to Capitol. We're just on our way to find a church for Sunday Mass, and we just literally came upon this abandoned colony or whatever.
We can get in this way.
Summer home.
Look, they're all open.
Alright, this is really about ready to fall apart. Oh my lord. Autumn Johnson here, old refrigerator.
Yeah, we need to.
Old refrigerator.
Are you gonna go in?
I don't really want to go in.
Oh my god, there's a bug on your leg.
Really what? Come on, quickly.
Daddy, it's flew away.
TV?
How am I supposed to
What we do?
Get your finger out of it.
Old fridge. From like the 40s. Old TV. There's some weird looking bugs in here. Alright.
Yeah, I don't want to get bit by it.
This is literally ready to collapse this roof. So let's check out something else. So basically, my director bailed out and she saw one little spider. I mean, one little spider like this big. It was not huge. Alright, so I gotta go do this by myself. This is pretty freaky. A lot of crickets out here. This grass is soaking wet. I got shorts on. This is definitely not dressed for this. We'll check one more spot out.
See if we can get in here. Oh my God, ants.
The problem is ants. Regular little ants, like right here.
But we've always had ants.
Of course, everybody does.
Oh, shit, spider webs. Wow, look at this. Little bungalow colony. A couple of bikers were driving by asking us what we were doing. They said this was a old bungalow colony. Summer homes. I don't know if I can even... I don't know if I can... This is a spider web. I'm not breaking through the spider web. Not doing it. Oh! It's big spider web. I almost walked right into it. Put my feet, something moves. Little crickets, dragonflies. This looks a little more stable. We got some concrete slab here, that's good. Hear those crickets? Oh, boy. I'm a little too heavy to get in here. There's a couple of bedrooms in here. I don't think I can. Oh shit. Oops. Alright, I think I'll check out one more place on the way out, back to the car. Oh shit! That was cute. Alright, the director's back. Alright, my director left again. We're gonna go get a better shot of the swimming pool. Oh, spider web. Holy moly. This is pretty cool. Don't bother now. It's too late. This is pretty cool. This is the deep end. Stay out of the deep end, folks. Stay out of the deep end.
Oh, look who's back.
I go for a dip, but I didn't bring my swimming trunks. It's a pretty deep pool. This is about, I don't know, 8 feet? 7 feet deep, I guess. There's probably diveboard over here at that. Yeah, this must have been something back in the day. Air's going out. Look at this. Look how these bushes just grow right through the creek. Right through. Right through. Alright guys, see you next time.
village of Pine Bush, which happens to be the UFO capital of the East Coast. Back in the 1960s, Pine Bush was known for its UFO sightings, and actually it still is. So when they really wanted to expand their tourism product, I said, will you build on your strength? You're known for UFOs. Have a UFO festival. There are lectures on people who have actually been abducted by aliens. We're hoping that some of the UFOs will stop by. If you look up in the sky, you might just spot some.
9 people were injured in that fire, including 3 teenage boys who are in serious condition here at the hospital this morning. Let's get you straight to some video, though, so you can see how intense that fire was this morning. Take a look at the intense flames, bright orange, coming out of the bungalow. Dozens of firefighters trying to get inside and put out the fire. Now, officials say the blaze broke out early this morning at 60 Cromwell Road in Monroe, that's in Orange County, New York, at the Quaker Hill Bungalow Colony, a camp for teenage boys, mostly from religious Jewish communities in Brooklyn. We're told one of the teens came home, smelled gas, opened a window, and shortly after, there was an explosion. Take a listen.
I was in a bungalow in New York where a guy started screaming fire. Kind of screamed fire, so we all ran out and we saw, like, we heard whatever. It was a whole gas range exploded.
Again, we're told at least 3 of those teenage boys are from Brooklyn. They are being treated here at the hospital. As we get more information on their condition, we will certainly bring that to you. As for the cause of the fire, that remains under investigation.
Welcome to my video.
Hello, everybody. Western New York Bigfoot contacted me and asked me to take a look at some stuff he caught in this video right here entitled Sasquatch Footage by Ryan Reading. Now, if you go to his YouTube page, he has several videos where he points out and breaks down some of the motion he catches in this video, but I wanted to focus on about a 30-second portion where you catch some decent movement off in the distance there. Now, this is about the 10:30-11 mark in this video, and when you go there, it's going to look like this. It's canted off to one side like this, so I'll just correct that right now. And look a little better. Now, what you're looking for, and this isn't zoomed in, and I will zoom in on this, and you'll see it a lot better. You're looking for some very subtle movement right in this area, right there. So I'm gonna move it forward manually, go kind of slow. It's very difficult to see from this view. Right there, see it kind of step it out. Here it goes forward. You step it out. Okay. Now here it is, about 20 seconds later, same area. And this time you're going to see the movement back towards the right. Now, what happens is he steps out from between a couple trees, and he stays still for about just over 20 seconds, and then he goes shooting back to the right. Same thing right back in this area, back here. There he goes off to the right. All right, well, obviously I wanted to zoom that in. Okay, here it is, obviously corrected. And zoomed in about 500%. Now, of course, I got the video in 1080p, so it's in really good shape, but it doesn't matter how good the video is. If you expand it a certain amount, it's going to start to fuzz up on you, and you're already starting to see individual pixels become visible. But you still can pick out some motion. Here he goes stepping out. Big old long arm coming out there, and then the main body comes out after him. And then he stays still there for just over 20 seconds. And then he goes shooting back to the right. And I'll just rock that whole sequence again, back and forth a few times for you to see it. And he goes back to the right. Interesting piece of footage. So here it is, same zoom level, but I boosted the contrast and lightened it up a little bit. Big old long arm come out, steps out there, and then back to the right. Now, obviously, there's not enough here to, make any kind of distinctive guess on exactly what it is or what it isn't. A couple of observations. That arm does appear to be quite long, but there's no way you can definitely get an accurate measurement of how long it is. And of course, limb proportion is what we're really trying to get to take a wild guess of whether this is human or some kind of an ape. And since we can't see the legs, we can't really make that comparison. But that does look to be a pretty long arm. Creature does look to be quite massive in nature and does move very smoothly. However, like I said, there's really not much you can say. Here it is zoomed in just a little bit more. 930% over original. So there you go. Very long arm. Moves very smoothly. Definitely all one color. Appears to be a light brown or a normal color brown in color. But that's about it. And if, like I said, you go to his YouTube page, he has some other videos where he analyzes other motion that he sees in this video. Very interesting stuff. But, like I said, there's not enough there to really make a definite analysis of what it is. All I can say is that it is definitely an intriguing piece of footage. I'm going to call it possible. I think he did a really good job of catching us, especially since, it was so distant. And it was just, in the original view, it was just such a tiny little bit of movement out there in the distance. It was a great job catching us. So good job to him for catching us. It's definitely possible. So that's it. Thanks for watching.
Have a nice day.
Howdy, folks. Here's an interesting article I followed while
doing my investigation work. Anyways, you know, I'm proving Bigfoot is real and Bigfoot is fake and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, here's something you might be interested in. You know, whether you believe or not believe, or you're a skeptic, or what have you, or researcher or investigator. Anyways, I'll scroll down on this, and you can read along with me as we do this. Okay, now this it says, you know, you visit the page, so I visited the page, and I came up with, found this article. And I thought, well, this is rather interesting, so I want to let you, you know, give your own opinion on what you think. Anyways, here it is, word for word. When you hear about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, the talk is usually about the Pacific Northwest. But are there identified creatures like Bigfoot in upstate New York? Well, let's see. Let me scroll down. There are legends of Bigfoot-like creatures in both Catskills and Adirondack parks. Whitehall, located near the Vermont border in Washington County, is often cited as a hotspot for Bigfoot activity in New York State. And this comes from teamnsra.net. So I'm going to look up that here in a little bit. But anyways, as the article goes, Whitehall, New York, a small town on the eastern edge of New York's Adirondack Mountain Preserve, has long been considered a Bigfoot hotbed of activity in eastern North America. Numerous Sasquatch sightings have taken place in and around Whitehall and in the Adirondacks, dating back to the First Nation Iroquois legends and folklore of the woodland snow giants, as well as documented sightings during the exploration of the St. Lawrence Seaway and Great Lake areas of the U.S. and Canada by French explorer Samuel Lee Champlain in the early 1600s. So I found that rather interesting, but I'm going to look up this team NSRA.net to see what they have to say. Maybe you guys might want to look that up too. You never know. And of course, I'll look up the Iroquois legends and folklore, but I found this rather interesting, short but brief, interesting article. So, with that said, I'm going to let you go for now, and hope you subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and we'll talk with you later. You know, take care. Bye-bye now.
There it is. Jesus, dude, there's so many.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The suspected head of an alleged cult that reportedly branded female members now faces charges in the United States after he was arrested and extradited from Mexico. With him at the time, but not arrested, was the star of the TV show Smallville. In fact, another actress from the show reportedly was once a member of the group. Stephen Fabian has more on the Smallville connection.
It's a shocking claim about an actress from the TV show Smallville.
Hey, Clark.
Allison Mack played a high school student in Smallville who had a crush on young Superman. Smallville was a huge hit for the CW network. It ended its 10-year run in 2011. It's now being revealed that Allison Mack is a follower of a notorious guru who has been accused of having his initials branded on some of his followers like cattle.
I started to transform in a way that I never expected.
Mack can be seen on this cell phone video taken this week as federal police in Mexico arrested the guru, Keith Raniere, for extradition back to the U.S. on sex trafficking charges.
We're gonna follow right. Let's go, you guys.
Raniere is the controversial founder of a self-help group called Nexium. Authorities say several of his followers were required to have his initials branded into their pelvic area with a device that dermatologist Dr. Doris Day says would be agonizing to experience.
This would be unbearable. I would never consider doing this without using an anesthetic.
I spoke to Frank Parlato, a former publicist for Nexium, who was the first to expose the story.
Allison had a very prominent role. She's completely enamored with Raniere and completely under his thrall.
Another actress from Smallville, Kristen Krug, who played Superman's love interest Lana Lang, was also once linked to Raniere's group.
When they recruited Allison and Kristen, they were used as poster girls for normalizing the group. Because why would beautiful, famous TV stars at the height of their career join a cult?
Krug reportedly severed ties with the group in 2012 after sordid allegations against Raniere came to light.
Raniere is now back in the U.S. and being held.
How you doing? This is Father Dominic at Upstate Supernatural. Just want to go over some footage with you. This is caught from our surveillance system on August 1st, 2014 at the Finger Lakes Mall, our sanctioned hunt. The camera is in the book room and the door behind that camera is closed. All the rest of our members are out in the foyer. We're discussing how we're going to do the hunt for the night. We were going through the footage and we actually found what looks to be a shadow walker. You can see this off to the left. Before you see that, you will see the camera shift almost like something had moved it. Again, the door is shut. No one is in this room. And go ahead and just watch the video and let us know what you think. I'm going to play it a couple times for you. Keep your eyes to the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see the wheel and the boxes. Okay, and that's going to come right back up on the same side, and it's almost going to, it actually goes right behind the camera. cue that back up for you. Get it right back where it was. Notice the height of it. It looks like a small child. Someone else that we had watched this actually says it looks like it's wearing a dress. I'd love everybody's opinion on this. This footage was found by Nicholas Kimmick. He was going over the footage and he happened to find it. He's one of the co-founders of Upstate Supernatural. And I'd love it if you guys would come to our website, www.upstatesupernatural.com. Let us know what you think of it. This is actually, our biggest find we've had in a very long time when it comes to anything with having something with a video.
Authorities want to seize 2 properties where they say the leader of the accused sex cult NXIVM treated women as slaves to perform sexual rituals and surrender self-incriminating videos. The latest complaint alleges an unidentified actress in her early 30s was forced to give access to her credit cards to her master and participate in various sex acts, once while blindfolded with an unknown partner. Last month, authorities filed criminal sex trafficking and forced labor conspiracy charges against the group's leader, Keith Raniere, also known as Vanguard, and Smallville star Allison Mack. The 2 properties they want to foreclose on are in Half Moon, a town in upstate New York, about 15 miles from NXIVM's headquarters in Albany. Matt Uris for CBSNewYork.com.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Most people had never heard of NXIVM until this happened.
Allison Mack. She has been charged with sex trafficking.
The FBI arrested the group's leader, as well as Allison Mack. Over several months, a number of charges were laid, including sex trafficking, forced labor, and racketeering, of course. And all hell broke loose.
Mack was with the alleged cult leader when he was arrested in Mexico.
NXIVM has been called a terrifying cult, a sex cult, a pyramid scheme, and even a group bent on world domination. But what is NXIVM? Here's the story of the group's rise and fall. NXIVM started in 1998 in Albany, New York, and it claims to be a self-improvement group, and it helps people with their issues and to gain success. The ultimate goal is to achieve an enlightened state, something that's called fully integrated. So far, of course, the group's leader is the only one who's achieved that state. It's also a multi-level marketing company. People pay money to take courses, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, and you can make money by getting other people to sign up. The group has attracted rich and famous people, including heiresses Sarah and Claire Bronfman, Smallville actresses Allison Mack and Kristen Kruk, and Hawaii Five-0 actress Grace Park, though Kruk and Park have since left. But some former members say the group is actually centered on the appetites and powers of the group's leader, Keith Raniere, who the NXIVM faithful call Vanguard. If you want to understand NXIVM, you have to try and understand Keith Raniere.
Our main belief is to have people experience more joy in their lives.
This is him talking about NXIVM.
And from that, all sorts of interesting effects appear to happen.
So according to Raniere, he's one of the smartest people in the world. He claims to have an IQ of 240. He says he has 147 patents. He has degrees in math, biology, and physics. He has a minor in psychology and philosophy, and he's an expert in computer science. He's written 2 books, one with a foreword from the Dalai Lama.
I'm very devilish, and I think I'm probably the worst coach in the world because I'm just a demon.
NXIVM claims to be a self-help group, but according to some people that left, that's not the whole story. Some people say that after they left, NXIVM went after them in the courts for speaking out. And some of the most serious allegations in the FBI indictments have to do with a secret group linked to NXIVM called DOS. Some of the women who joined DOS say they believed it was a secret group for women's empowerment. DOS is an acronym for the Latin phrase Dominus Obsequious Sororia, which loosely translates to master over the slave women. In DOS, you were called a slave and you served under your master. And if you recruited others, you became their master. In order to join, women had to give over collateral to prove they were committed. Some women gave nude photos or taped confessions of damaging secrets. If they quit, some people feared their collateral would be released. And in what many people find the strangest part, in the initiation ceremony, women got branded. One woman says that she only found out at the ceremony that the design would be burned into her skin. She left NXIVM after she realized that the design appeared to include the initials of KR for Keith Raniere and AM for Allison Mack. The FBI says that some of the women in DOS were being instructed to have sex with Raniere. Since the story broke, NXIVM has suspended all activities, and Raniere and Mack have pleaded not guilty.
After having their property taken from them in Manchester, New York, Joseph Smith Sr. and Lucy Mack Smith moved about 30 miles to the southeast. They lived close by, near the Seneca River in the former community of Kingdom, in the area of present-day Seneca Falls, New York. Lucy commented on the kindness of the people in the neighborhood in welcoming her and her husband into their lives and homes.
We moved into a house belonging to an individual by the name of Kellogg. Shortly after arriving there, we were made to realize that the hearts of the people were in the hands of the Lord. for we had scarcely taken our goods out of the wagon when Mr. Osgood came and bade us welcome and invited us to drive the stock and teams into his barnyard, and made us welcome to what feed we needed for them. Mr. Hooper also came with his lady and expressed great joy that we had arrived there in safety. Mr. Kellogg and his lady paid us a visit early the next day. These all were remarkably kind and frequently brought to me dishes of delicate or rare victuals that they supposed would please our taste. I appreciated most heartily those kind attentions, for I had felt the contrast so severely that I was in a situation to realize an office of friendship more than was commonly the case. Having settled ourselves in this place, we established the practice of spending the evenings in singing and praying. The neighbors soon became aware of this, and it caused our house to become a place of evening resort for some dozen or 20 persons.
In the cold month of December 1830, two men from northeastern Ohio arrived in the community of Kingdom, New York. The first, Sidney Rigdon, had received the message of the Restoration from missionaries passing through Ohio on their way to Indian Territory west of Missouri and had been baptized. The second, Edward Partridge, had also heard the message but had come to New York to meet the prophet Joseph Smith personally before he made a commitment to baptism. They entered the Smith home while Joseph was holding a meeting. Following Joseph's sermon, he invited any present to make remarks as they felt appropriate. Edward Partridge arose and stated that he'd been to Manchester seeking out the Smiths and had been directed here. He explained that while in Manchester, he inquired of the Smiths' previous neighbors concerning their character and looked over the good order of the farm they sacrificed for their faith. He declared that he believed the testimony that he had heard and was ready to be baptized. If, he said, Brother Joseph will baptize me. The next day, the prophet Joseph Smith baptized Edward Partridge in the Seneca River near Joseph Smith Sr. and Lucy Mack Smith's home. Sidney Rigdon eventually served as first counselor of the prophet Joseph Smith in the first presidency of the church, and Edward Partridge was called as the first bishop in this dispensation. Soon after the arrival of brothers Partridge and Rigdon, the Lord gave 3 revelations through the prophet, which were most likely received in the Smith home here in the area of Old Kingdom. Sidney being called as Joseph's scribe in the inspired translation of the Bible, Edward to preach the gospel, and a commandment that dramatically affected the lives of all the saints living in New York, calling them to remove from New York to the state of Ohio, some 275 miles to the west. Although their stay was brief in Kingdom, the events that occurred here and the revelations received here were of great import for the young Church of Christ.
In 1829, Oliver Calgary came to Manchester, New York to teach school, and while there boarded in the home of Joseph Smith's parents.
So you believe your son is a prophet?
My son has seen a vision, Mr. Calgary. He has in his possession an ancient record, and God is revealing his will to mankind once again. Perhaps you may come to know of its import also. My son does have need of a scribe. This is the work of God.
Sir! Oliver! What you have told me. Well, I cannot suppress my feelings. It has been impressed upon my mind that I should have the privilege of writing for your son.
Then you must pray to God and ask him what he would have you do for this work. If God would have you scribe for my son, he will make it known unto you.
Oliver had a desire to scribe for Joseph. Revelation rarely comes without first having righteous desires to know and do the will of the Lord. Then the Holy Ghost prompted Oliver to do as Joseph's father had suggested. Oliver acted on that prompting and prayed to find out what the Lord would have him do.
Our Father, which art in heaven, my Father, which...
Oliver did receive an answer to his prayer, and as a result became the scribe for Joseph Smith.
And now I do not know all things, but the Lord knoweth all things which are to come. Wherefore he worketh in me to do according to his will. That will do for today.
Joseph, what more would the Lord have me do? Could you beseech the Lord in my behalf? I would like to know the Lord's will for me.
Yes, Oliver. I will ask the Lord for you. Behold, thou knowest that thou hast inquired of me, and I did enlighten thy mind. And now I tell thee these things, that thou mayest know that thou hast been enlightened by the Spirit of truth. Cast your mind upon the night that you cried out unto me in your heart, that you might know concerning the truth of these things. Did I not speak peace to your mind concerning the matter? What greater witness can you have than from God?
Peace is one form of personal revelation. There are many others. Through the Holy Ghost, our loving Father can send revelations in the form of impressions, thoughts, promptings, remembering, comfort, or even guilt for sin. All can be revelation. Oliver asked if he could translate. The Lord gave him permission and then told him how to receive the revelation necessary to translate. Yea, behold, I will tell you in your mind and in your heart, by the Holy Ghost which shall come upon you, and which shall dwell in your heart. Now behold, this is the spirit of revelation.
Then shall children... No, wait. It isn't correct. It's no use, Joseph. I tried. The words don't come. Why? Why was I only able to translate a few words?
I don't know.
Have I sinned? Maybe I just don't understand what's required of me. Joseph, will you pray for me again?
Oliver, like many of us, just assumed that revelation would come without effort on his part. Through the prophet, the Lord told Oliver, "Behold, you have not understood. You have supposed that I would give it unto you, when you took no thought save it was to ask me. But behold, I say unto you that you must study it out in your mind. Then ask me if it be right, and if it is right, you shall feel that it is right. But if it be not right, you shall have no such feeling." In section 6, Heavenly Father outlines what we have to do to receive revelation. We have to ask, knock, desire, inquire. We have to put forth some thought and effort. If you don't ask a specific question, how can you expect the Lord to provide answers?
So this is Thanksgiving, and we are out hiking towards Bushnell Falls, and this is our discovery. And there's a little guy there. There's got to be a name for this.
That's cool that he's there, because that shows the size. How big it is.
This is an enchanted forest.
Is that incredible?
That's the closest thing I've seen.
Wow.
This is an enchanted forest.
I would agree, Tess.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Oh,
Stop it!
That's how the water's flowing.
That's so cool. Now I'm taking a little video because I just wonder how perfect that circle is. Like mathematically, I bet they can figure that out. right there. Pull over. Stop, right here, right here. Where the fuck did it go?
What is that?
Into the bottom of a mysterious poem. It was reported across parts of the southern tier. We've got emails, Facebook comments, calls to our newsroom all about this. The event happened throughout the evening, and we've been checking with the National Earthquake Center website. So far, there haven't been any reports of an earthquake in our area. This call started coming into our newsroom around 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Folks as far away as Alfred, Allman, and Allegheny County wanted to talk about what they experienced. One volunteer fire chief we spoke with overnight said the boom was so loud he thought the house exploded.
Just all of a sudden, there was just this humongous boom, just one boom. I mean, I honestly thought like a house blew up. Started looking for, small stuff.
And just to recap, there have been no reports of any earthquakes or explosions in this area. We're going to be all over this story throughout the day, touching base with local experts in hopes of shedding some light on exactly what happened.
Moreover, esteemed by the women as a man of great erudition, for he had read several books quite through, and was a perfect master of Cotton Mather's History of New England Witchcraft, in which, by the way, he most firmly and potently believed. He was, in fact, an odd mixture of small shrewdness and simple credulity. His appetite for the marvelous and his powers of digesting it were equally extraordinary, and both have been increased by his residence in this spellbound region. No tale was too gross or monstrous for his capacious swallow. It was often his delight, after his school was dismissed in the afternoon, to stretch himself on the rich bed of clover bordering the little brook that whimpered by his schoolhouse, and there con over old Mather's direful tales, until the gathering dusk of evening made the printed page a mere mist before his eyes. Then, as he wended his way by swamp and stream and awful woodland to the farmhouse where he happened to be quartered, every sound of nature at that witching hour fluttered his excited imagination. The moan of the whippoorwill from the hillside, the boding cry of the tree toad, that harbinger of storm, the dreary hooting of the screech owl, or the sudden rustling in the thicket of birds frightened from their roost. The fireflies, too, which sparkled most vividly in the darkest places, now and then startled him, as one of uncommon brightness would stream across his path. And if, by chance, a huge blockhead of a beetle came winging his blundering flight against him, the poor varlet was ready to give up the ghost, with the idea that he was struck with a witch's token. His only resource on such occasions, either to drown thought or drive away used to sing psalm tunes, and the good people of Sleepy Hollow, as they sat by their doors of an evening, were often filled with awe at hearing his nasal melody, in linked sweetness, long drawn out, floating from the distant hill, or along the dusky road. Another of his sources of fearful pleasure was to pass long winter evenings with the old Dutch wives, as they sat spinning by the fire, with a row of apples roasting and spluttering along the hearth, and listen to their marvelous tales of ghosts and goblins, and haunted fields, and haunted brooks, and haunted bridges, and haunted houses, and particularly of the Headless Horseman, or Galloping Hessian of the Hollow, as they sometimes called him. He would delight them equally by his anecdotes of witchcraft, and of the direful omens and portentous sights and sounds in the air, which prevailed in the earlier times of Connecticut, and would frighten them woefully with speculations upon comets and shooting stars, and with the alarming fact that the world did absolutely turn round, and that they were, half the time, topsy-turvy. But if there was a pleasure in all this, while snugly cuddling in the chimney corner of a chamber that was all of a ruddy glow from the crackling wood fire, and where, of course, no spectre dared to show its face, it was dearly purchased by the terrors of his subsequent walk homewards. What fearful shapes and
In the Catskill Mountains lived a man named Rip. Rip Van Winkle was his name. He went to the mountains and slept when he used. His wife was the one who blamed. He nagged for Rip from morn till night because he slept all day. And at his feet you'll find his faithful dog. He'd rather sleep than play.
How we going, big boy?
Listen to the warning of the Catskill Tree. They tell a mystery ahead. Hearken to the warning of the Catskill. Come into this magic world, all this land. Let's all be happy and today the thing you come out play. Let's all be on with the show!
My baby on the street blouse, when the wind blows, the cradle will go. When the ball breaks, the cradle will fall, and the milk baby cradle and all.
period of American history. There was among the high hills, not far from Tarrytown, a drowsy little Dutch settlement, long known as Sleepy Hollow. There are some who say that this enchanted region was bewitched by a high German doctor. Others say that an Indian wizard held his powwows here. Certain it is that some power held a spell over the minds of the good people. The whole neighborhood abounds with local tales of haunted spots and twilight superstitions, and most fearsome spirit of all, the Headless Horseman. Now it happened that a very peculiar school teacher came to Sleepy Hollow. His name was Ichabod Crane. And to see him striding along with his tattered clothes fluttering about him, one might have mistaken him for the specter of famine descending upon the earth. His schoolhouse on a crisp winter day buzzed with the low murmur of his pupils' voices, interrupted now and then by the authoritative voice of the master, accompanied by the crack of a birch stick. Ichabod's scholars were not spoiled, and all of this he called doing his duty. He was not, as you may have imagined, one of those cruel potentates of the school who joy in the smarting of his subjects. He administered justice with discrimination rather than severity. When school hours were over, he would often walk a student home, especially the ones who had mothers who were noted for the comforts of the cupboard. Knowing that his rustic patrons were apt to consider schoolmasters as mere drones, he would often render himself useful and agreeable. Then, late at night, sitting by the fire, he listened to old Dutch wives' tales of ghosts, goblins, haunted fields, especially the tale of the Headless Horseman. While listening, all snug by the chimney, Ichabod was only mildly apprehensive. But afterwards, on his walk homeward, what fearful shapes and shadows beset his path. Among Ichabod's musical disciples was Katrina van Tassel, the daughter and only heir of a substantial Dutch farmer. On his way to her house, Ichabod rolled his great eyes over her father's fat meadowlands. In his devouring mind's eye, he pictured to himself every duck roasted succulent brown, each little porker with an apple in its mouth, strutting turkeys on plates swimming in gravy. How he sighed and yearned for the blooming Katrina van Tassel, who would inherit all these domains.
Hear our voices joyously sing this fervent
Ichabod's most formidable rival was Brom Bones, who was the hero of the countryside and Katrina's tutor.
Banish all your woes.
Ichabod loved to watch her tender face form sweet round lines. Brom fumed with jealousy, but he knew he could not regain Katrina's affections by physically assaulting an obviously weaker opponent. So he employed his natural inclination for fun and mischief. Katrina sent Brom away. Brom left, but he vowed revenge. Ichabod rejoiced. Katrina had brushed aside the main impediment to his pursuit of her affections. Some time later, Ichabod was handed a note. An invitation to attend a party at the Van Tassel mansion. Ichabod imagined himself in the true style of a cavalier. He saw an admiring Van Tassel bestowing upon him his total wealth. He was certain that tonight he would win the heiress' hand. Ichabod, gallantly mounted on a borrowed steed, lurched along toward the Van Tassel estate. When he entered, the conquest of his heart was complete. A world of charms burst upon his enraptured gaze. Not those of the bevy of buxom lasses, but the ample charms of a genuine Dutch country table. Ichabod was a peculiar creature, whose spirits rose with eating, as some men do with drink. Ichabod prided himself on his dancing as much as on his vocal powers. Not a limb nor a fiber about him was idle. To see his loosely hung frame in full motion, clattering about the room, you would think St. Vitus himself was whirling before you in person. He was the admiration of all present, except Brom Bones. When the dance was at an end, Ichabod was attracted to a group of older folks who sat and doled out their wild and wonderful legends. Many dismal tales were told about funeral trains and cries and wailings. Some mention was made of the woman in white who haunted the dark glen at Raven Rock. She was often heard to shriek on winter nights before a storm. Seeing Ichabod trembling in every limb, Brom Bones immediately added the tale of his own, an encounter with their favorite spectre, the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow. He affirmed that returning one night from a neighboring village, he had been overtaken by the midnight trooper himself. He raced home, and just as they came to the church bridge, the headless horseman bolted and vanished in a flash of fire. To Brom's satisfaction and delight, Ichabod was terror-stricken. Ichabod lingered behind, according to the custom of country lovers, fully convinced that he had won Katrina's heart. What passed between them, no one knows. But something went wrong. Was her encouragement of the poor pedagogue all a mere sham to secure her conquest of his rival? Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his way homeward. It was the witching hour. All the stories of ghosts and goblins now came crowding upon his recollections. The night grew darker and darker. He had never felt so lonely and dismal. He was, moreover, approaching the very place where many of the scenes of the ghost stories had been laid. Suddenly, a strange sound caught the sensitive ear of Ichabod. In the dark shadow of the grove, he beheld a huge, misshapen, black, towering mass, like some gigantic monster ready to spring upon him. Ichabod burst forth into a fervent psalm tune.
Hear our voices joyously sing this fervent song.
Ichabod was momentarily relieved until he cautiously opened one eye and spied a horseman of large dimensions trotting alongside. Ichabod was never again seen in that region. Many stories were called to mind and considered and compared. But in the end, the old Dutch wives, who are the best judges in these matters, maintained that Ichabod was spirited away by the headless horseman. And to this day, it is a favorite story often told about the neighborhood.
going on, guys? It's 6 a.m. We're here by Walmart, and being chased, guys, by the UFO. Right there. Go, guys. Welcome to the Matrix. That is UFO, okay? He's got a little buddy with him, okay? Let me get the little buddy here. Alright. Boom. We'll back this up. Okay, over here. I'm just leaving Walmart, actually. And I spent the night at Walmart. I'm going to show you guys how it follows me, okay? We're over at Walmart. And, let's turn this camera sideways to give you an idea. Okay, hold up. Okay, this is star in the sky, right? Let's check this star out. See what it does here. As you can see, this star in the sky is actually moving right with me. Right here with me, guys. Know this. When you look at the sky and you think it's Venus, it may not be Venus. Does this look like Venus to you guys? Triangle diamond shape that flies with you as you drive down the road? No, that's not Venus. Okay? Welcome to the Matrix, guys. Here's the little guy here. Okay, welcome to the Matrix. Peace. You're not alone.
Yeah, you're right. It's too big for a satellite. I guess it is. Looks like it's slowed down.
Close encounter of the first kind is one that centers upon a visual sighting. Hynek investigated first-kind encounters in 1983 in New York State. Local residents and commuters just 40 miles from New York City had been reporting sightings of an unusual object in the night skies for over a year and a half. Sightings were reported on at least 50 separate nights during the 18-month period. Over 9,000 eyewitnesses, lawyers, teachers, CPAs, advertising executives, nurses, and factory workers reported seeing the unidentified phenomena. Newspapers and television almost weekly carried reports of the sightings. From different places throughout the area, eyewitnesses all reported seeing the same thing.
I looked up, and right over my head, virtually. It wasn't far off, it was right over my head and very still. There was a rim of lights in the shape of a triangle.
It was just a tremendous object. It was anywhere from wingtip to wingtip, about 50 or 60 yards.
These were very, very unusual lights. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And so I pulled my car over and I had to take a look.
I mean, he would drive down the road and look up in the sky.
Some people, like Bob and Lori Pazioli, were determined to film the object.
And then one night, he spotted this one round object. And that's when he called me, and he said, quick, let's get the camera. And we did.
Oh, good God. I don't know.
Not quite.
I'm going to tell you something, honey. I don't know what the hell it is.
It's rotating.
Bob and Lori photographed this unidentified flying object near their home in Brewster, New York. Bob is a vice president in a Manhattan computer firm. Some of their friends and Lori's parents thought they were crazy, despite this photographic evidence.
Well, yeah, it's turning very, very slowly. 9,000 odd people have seen this thing, or whatever it is, and they all just can't be crazy.
Bob and Lori have 2 children. They are concerned about what they saw in the sky. They also wonder why the government hasn't investigated the event. Their concern is shared by David Scarpino, an accountant who works in New York City. Scarpino, a family man, has publicly called for a government investigation. He and others, like Bill Healy, a meteorologist at the county airport, made this demand at a town meeting. Public furor has been led by County Clerk Dennis Sant. Sant feels that a government investigation is indicated by the fact that eyewitnesses have all reported seeing the same thing.
You know, the movement was almost like a probing movement. It was very slow, and it stopped periodically and stationary, where it just came to a standstill, and then it would move to another position, and the movement from one position to another was just extremely slow.
Now, the speed at which it was going at that point was very slow, because I had to walk at a very slow delivery gait to keep up with the lights. Every step I took, it moved a little bit.
It moved in a very straight line, very slowly. There was absolutely no noise.
When I walked away from it, at that point, it started to rotate virtually, almost as it was on an axis. It didn't make a big move. It just rotated.
It appeared, as I said, to rotate in the sky, change lights. Aircraft, I don't care how well precise you want to be in flying those suckers, you're not going to be able to make them move 90 degrees. All right, this thing did apparently rotate. You can't do that with aircraft.
Could it have been an aircraft or many smaller light planes flying in formation? The media attention given the sightings prompted 6 pilots at a local airport to try to prove that it could be just that. Amused by the idea of UFOs, the pilots planned and flew at least 18 daring nighttime missions, flying in formation, sometimes without lights. This hoax fooled at least some of the eyewitnesses, but not Bob and Lori. They claimed that in addition to photographing the UFO, they also videotaped the light airplanes as they enacted their hoax.
There are 6, and the lead one has his 3 lights on. Everybody else only has 2. Did you hear the engines?
Some UFO investigators agree that many of the reported sightings were probably of the hoax. But some eyewitnesses, they say, were clearly able to differentiate between the hoax and the unidentified object.
As it was coming over, there was a star in the sky, and as the lead light went under that star, right behind it, you could still see the star, which meant it was not a solid object. And as it was going overhead, you did hear engines. Right now, what kind of aircraft engines, I don't know, but you did hear aircraft engine noise.
Engine noise, different lights, and different flying movements, UFO proponents say, clearly make the airplanes IFOs, identified flying objects. But this object, or objects, remains unidentified for many. Some eyewitnesses refuse to accept the possibility that these are also the lights of the airplanes.
I know what it wasn't. It wasn't an ultralight. It wasn't a blimp. It wasn't gas. No one's tried to tell me what it was, but I know what it wasn't.
Investigators have subjected the videotaped images of the hoax and the unidentified lights to various computer analyses. By digitalization of the images, they hope to be able to determine if the area between the lights of the UFO was solid, indicating one craft. The airplanes, they hope, would show night sky in the center of the lights. Physicist Al Hibbs.
Pictures like this, night sky, a few lights, taken with a television camera that was perhaps being moved, not deliberately, but accidentally while it was taking the picture. There's really nothing you can say about these things. In one case, a very good explanation is offered, and I see no reason to disbelieve it. In the other case, there's no explanation. I certainly can't offer one. I would love it if some UFOs were extraterrestrial objects being piloted by extraterrestrial beings. I think that'd be the most marvelous discovery of the history of man. I'd love to have that be true. So I'm not going to say that foreign objects, artifacts made by intelligent creatures in the solar system, I'm not going to say that's preposterous. I'm going to say it is so unusual, so immensely important, that I'm not going to assign anything like any sightings like this to that phenomenon without a lot more data. Insufficient data, the object remains unidentified. For government officials, therefore, it is of no consequence. But for the New York eyewitnesses, the question of what it is remains. They find the government's apparent lack of interest puzzling.
The government didn't come to me as a rational individual. As an accountant, I like concrete things, I like evidence. For them to say that I didn't see anything without really talking to me and investigating it means that they were trying to hide something. And that was my feeling from the very beginning.
They know something, okay? They know something. Either they know that there's something up there, and they want to investigate it themselves and don't want other people trying to handle it, or they're doing something. But if they're doing something, then let people know about it.
What's going on? I got two of them right here, guys, hovering in the parking lot. Look at them. Not landing. I'm not nowhere near the airport. I'm in Clifton Park, New York. All right, 4 miles away from the airport. Look at these things hovering. We got two of them. Look what I'm showing you guys. All right, let me see if I can get a close-up on that. Let me just establish. Look at the hover there. Come on, camera. See, that one of them just disappeared. See, that flat out, like, gone. Turn its lights off, boom, gone. Let's see what this one looks like. It's going to go behind that light there. That was crazy. The other one just disappeared. It's kind of wild. Let me drive forward. I'll get it to move away from that light. Watch this. Hold on. Sorry. Watch it move the other way, guys. Look at hover there. Sorry. Look at this thing. Let me stop it right there. It's a shaky camera tonight here. So we can see what it looks like. Can't tell, man. Let me back this up. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Oh, we got the steady camera. I don't know what that is. Look at that hover right there, guys. It's most likely a plane. I might be able to get it. I think I see an aviation light there. But look at the hover right there, guys. Unbelievable. This thing's been tracking me for miles. I filmed it earlier. It looked like a star in the sky.
Dogs, this is Tim Marshall, and that is the moon.
Oh my goodness.
They finally have the moon a clear shot.
I'm gonna screenshot that.
That is a beautiful shot of the moon. I can't zoom in any further, but wow, dude, I can see the... I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
plane so low. It came out of a cloud. Easy. That's a crab. Now it's getting darker. The sky is getting darker.
What phone works?
We're in Oxford, New York, and we're hunting UFOs on a mountaintop.
I can't watch this as go to cat.
Holy shit, it's low. Could be a helicopter.
Right in front of me. It's died down. These huge ones are enormous. Flying down to the sea.
I heard something. Something like whoop, whoop. Yeah. There'll be no dinner for nobody.
Oh, I can't even see one whoop. You heard a whoop?
Whoop, whoop. Something a whoop, whoop.
Guys, we got 3 UFOs here. It's probably from the airport, 3 miles away. And got this guy here. Look at that thing. And he's got a little buddy next to him with a drone. There's another one above it. Let's see if I can get this one too. You know, it looks like a star, but it's not. Trust me, guys. This shit flies across the sky. Followed me for miles. I got tons of videos. I got 50 plus videos of UFOs, aircraft that hover. Okay, so let me show the guy next to him, which is kind of like red colored. And get him. Alright. Now, me and a buddy, we have tons of videos of this. That other really bright star, which is either a UFO or a scout plane, actually ejected that other UFO on the left. Alright, so it like holds it in place with some kind of tractor beam or some kind of alien thing, man. It's crazy. And then even these smaller ones eject other little drones out of them. You know, it's insane the things that I'm showing you guys if you look at my other videos. Right? We're not alone. The government is run by the shadow government, the military-industrial complex. Shit is not what you think it is, guys. Do your homework.
Every picture taken by a remote trail camera has police and townsfolk baffled about who the ghostly mystery girl in the picture might be. The image was taken near Route 74 in the rural village of Cambridge, New York by cameras set up to monitor a section of woods used as private hunting grounds. The owners of the land and cameras came forward to law enforcement after they saw the photo with the little girl and were instantly creeped out. Local ABC affiliate NEWS 10 interviewed local residents on the street to get their opinion on the photograph. There is no real general consensus about who, or what, the girl might be, at least from the interviewees the news station chose to include. I think it's a ghost. Look at it. It's definitely a spirit, one woman claims. For Cambridge Police Chief George Bell, the idea of a ghostly little girl prowling the woods in this small upstate New York town is a new one. I've lived here all my life and I've never heard of a ghost running around the woods. The idea originally was just to identify who the child was. Now it's been a few weeks and still no one has come forward and imaginations are soaring. I don't know, there is some creepy stuff in this town. Bell says the image is definitely not a fake, but that police have no leads whatsoever. A team from the Greenwich Paranormal Research Team is being dispatched to the area to conduct research and determine if anything supernatural is indeed going on. President Tanya Woodward says her team is remaining skeptical, looking for what is likely a perfectly normal explanation before jumping to any conclusions. We like to look at the actual footage from the actual camera it came from. What neighborhood kids are around? Do they have kids? What time of day was it set up? Where was it set up? Can we look through it to see what's going on and do some research on the area? There's a big difference between ghostly and ghost. The picture, more than likely, just shows a playing little girl whose parents don't own a TV and have no idea their daughter has caused such a commotion. Of course, someone ought to recognize a little girl in a town with a population of only 1,835, that is, if it is needed a little girl in the photograph.
I tell you, there's nothing like hiking in the Adirondacks here in upstate New York. Check out this scene. This hill. I'd love to be able to afford some land up here. It's just too expensive. Whoa. I just heard something. I heard something over in here. Wait a second. Look at that. Oh my God. That looks like a Bigfoot. Or if he's carrying a suitcase and a Century 21 sign.
67 Bennett Avenue, Binghamton, New York, May of 2004. The boyhood home of Rod Serling. A woman was walking by, she saw me taking pictures and she asked me why. I said, "You don't know who grew up there?" She had no idea, she lived 2 doors over. Anyway, this is his boyhood home. And when you go up a couple of blocks from where his home was, there's a lot of these carousels, and these inspired one of the most famous Twilight Zone episodes, which was called Walking Distance, and had Gig Young and Ronnie Howard in it. It was about a man in his 40s wanted to relive his youth, wanted to go back to when he was a 12-year-old. To me, to my mind, it's one of the best episodes of Twilight Zone ever. It's called Walking Distance, and what they've done here in this gondola, I guess I'm not quite sure what you would call this, they've embedded a plaque, and it says, Rod Serling, creator of Twilight Zone, Walking Distance, and it's a memorial to Rod Serling. Rod died in 1975 of a heart attack, a massive heart attack. He was only 50. He used to come back regularly to nearby Ithaca, New York, to teach at Cornell College, to teach drama. And all these carousels were all over Binghamton. And Binghamton is just in the southern part of New York State. And it's a beautiful area. And Casey and I were deciding we'd stop in and have a little bit of a look around Binghamton and see what kind of memorials there were there to Rod Serling. Like I said, the home on Bennett Avenue, nobody seemed to know too much about that being his boyhood home. He only lived there for 16 or 17 years. And this old Dodge, I guess a 47 or 48 Dodge. We just kind of walked around downtown. It was early on a Sunday morning, not too many people around, my favorite time of the day. And we decided to visit his old high school. And it says, in honor of Rod Serling, award-winning playwright, dramatist, creator of The Twilight Zone, and class of 1943. And this was erected in the 1980s, this platform up front of this high school, up in front of Binghamton High. Anyway, just wanted to show you what Binghamton, New York looked like. This is what inspired most of his stories. He says, a part of me always belongs to Binghamton.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
After translating for about 5 weeks, Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith were prompted to go into the woods to inquire of the Lord about baptism and priesthood authority. Considering that they were well into the translation of the large plates of Nephi, some may wonder what moved them to finally ask about the particulars of baptism. Oliver later recalled that one could not translate and write of the resurrected Savior's words to the Nephites in 3rd Nephi regarding the proper method for baptism without desiring it for themselves. Even so, 3rd Nephi would not have been the first place Joseph and Oliver encountered the discussion of authority to baptize. They would have read about it in Mosiah and Alma. So it is fair to assume that after such emphatic repetition, with the final being from the Savior himself, the two men would have clearly understood that baptism by proper authority and in the Lord's directed way is of utmost importance to God. Elder Joseph B. Worthlin wisely taught, "We are constantly reminded through the Scriptures that we should give the things of God much more than the usual superficial consideration. We must ponder them and reach into the very essence of what we are and what we may become." In fact, Joseph and Oliver had done just as Elder Worthlin instructed. They considered deeply the words of the prophets and the Son of God, and then took the matter to God himself, asking with sincere hearts and with real intent. Because Joseph Smith knew to take seriously the Word of God and use the Book of Mormon and the Holy Scriptures to lead the way forward, he confidently knew what to ask, which led to yet another pivotal moment in church history, the restoration of the Aaronic priesthood in the latter days. And now you know why.
There's magic in the Catskill Mountains, and folks who lived here felt it all around them. The Indians claimed the mountains were home to their spirits. And the legend of the early Dutch settlers tells of the ghosts of Henry Hudson and his crew, who roam these mountains still. Around here, they still tell the story of a man who met the magic of the Catskills head on. His name was Rip Van Winkle.
To be the problem here.
Nathan's kite won't fly, and I told him it was because it doesn't have a tail.
Oh, don't be silly. If Nathan had a tail, he wouldn't need a kite. He could fly himself. And so the old woman was able to spin her entire basket of yarn into gold. And never again did they have to toil.
If you could spin that yarn into a sweater, at least you'd be warm.
Plainly speaking, he was lazy. For this shortcoming, some of his industrious neighbors considered him a fool. But when Rip entertained, he always drew a crowd.
There are men, special men, born to do the dance or sing. May our neighbor have her labor, and may each day bring every virtue in the dirt. You must live for one thing.
He's coming, Rip! I hear you, Van Winkle. I'd know you're stupid singing anywhere. Singing and dancing when you can't even pay for the roof that shelters you. My roof, I might add. My roof, my house, my land. Now where's my rent?
I'll have it soon, Mr. Vanderdonk. Really, I will.
If you don't, you'll have the toe of my boot applied swiftly to the seat of the problem.
I mean it this time, Mr. Vanderdonk. I've got a good crop for the first time since...
Crop? What do you raise, Van Winkle? Besides dust, I mean.
Cabbage and corn, sir. And after it's sold, I'll pay you what I owe you and a month in advance.
You'll pay me a month in advance when the Hudson runs uphill, Van Winkle. You have 2 weeks to pay what you owe me, or out you go!
Oh, that miser Vanderdunk. I wonder why he has to be so
about as much common sense as a ghost. While his own is rusting on its hinges. Come on, Rip, play another song.
Some more music.
No, I better go sack the corn.
Corn don't jump into the sacks all by itself.
Yeah, me too.
You know, Rip, old age has very little to recommend it, but at least I can do as I please. Sometimes the difference between the wise man and the fool is little more than some gray hairs and a cane.
Oh, yeah. Sure, Mr. Vedder. Well, I'd better be off if I'm going to get that corn to market. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, first things first. You take the kite over to the opposite hill.
Okay, I'm on my way.
And yes, you two. Unwind the string. That's good.
This way. Got it? Okay, good.
Huh? Okay. How are we doing over there?
Ready!
Now, everyone quiet. Let her go! Over and under and over, and the back hitch a knot. No. Hold on, Heidi, old girl. It must be the back hitch first, then over and under. Yes, that's it.
Rip Van Winkle, what are you doing now?
I'm harnessing the horse. We're nearly ready to leave.
Do you plan to sell that as a sack, Rip? Or will you just auction it off one cob at a time?
Will you look at that? Sometimes I think that corn has a mind of its own.
We're in more trouble than I thought if the corn is doing all the thinking.
Don't you worry. We'll have more than enough for the rent. This is a good crop. Hello, Franz. Oh, Heidi.
Hello, Rip.
Franz, I heard about your fire. Thank goodness no one was hurt. You know, there is no justice. Here I am with a cart full of cabbage and corn, and you have nothing.
No, Rip. We will manage.
Let me help, Franz. How can I enjoy my good fortune when you have none?
Well, if you think that you can spare it, I will take 2 sacks from the back. And I will not forget what you have done. You are a generous man, but don't forget, it is no sin for a man to watch out for his own. Goodbye, Rip, and thank you.
Goodbye, my friend. Okay, Heidi, you've got a lighter load now. Let's go. How can that be? If Franz took 2 sacks, and I lost only 2 or 3, then that should be 11, perhaps 10. At 48?
There wasn't even enough money to pay the back rent.
Oh, dear. That won't do.
Dame Van Winkle would never understand. And Mr. Vanderdonk would surely throw them out. Rip thought the problem through in every way he knew. But no matter which way he looked at it, it seemed hopeless.
What am I going to do now? I'm going to go squirrel hunting. That's what I'm going to do.
Hear the birds singing. Where do they learn that tune they know? When the birds winging, how does he know which way to go? Hear the wind blowing. Nobody told the wind to blow. Still it keeps whispering something that's sweet and soft and low. Sun shining, moving real slow from day to day. Well, maybe he's lazy, but I think he's okay. Nobody pushes the river, it simply does the best it can. What does it take to be free as a river if you're born a simple man?
And what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Rip Van Winkle! Rip Van Winkle! Rip Van Winkle, come give me a hand.
Oh, sure. Here. Sure. Let me give you a hand. Say, how did you know my name?
Don't talk. Push! Count on 3.
What's this rock doing here?
What am I doing here? It just so happens that I keep this side of the hill from blowing away. I'm strong. I can take whatever they dish out around here. Howling gales, blind and snow, earthquakes. Huh? I've seen it all. You see that big old oak down there? Nice gal. Well, she'd be washed right down the hill if I weren't here to protect her. What are you doing here, fella?
I'm hunting.
A hunter, eh?
Well, I wouldn't say that exactly.
What do you hunt? Bear, deer, moose?
Squirrels?
Squirrels? Yeah. How many you got?
Well, none. I don't like to hurt them. I suppose I'm not much of a hunter, really.
Well, then what are you doing here? Stand fast, little fella. Look out! Here they come! Hey, put him down!
I wish I knew.
From the looks of it, you lack direction, young man. You need roots.
I do?
Oh, indeed you do. We all have our responsibilities. Why, in addition to my regular duties, holding birds' nests, making acorns, giving shade, I have the awesome and unending responsibility of making the wind visible.
It must be grand to be a mountain.
Well, yeah, I think so. But what makes you think so?
Well, you're so reliable.
Reliable? Well, yeah, I am reliable.
And respected.
Well, sure, anything gets as old as I am and stands as tall, bound to get some respect, but...
And you're so serious.
Serious? What's so grand about that? Why, sometimes I'm so serious, I bore myself. Now you take those wildflowers down there. You see them? I've been enjoying them ever since I can remember. Blue and red and yellow, dancing in the wind. You see how free they are. There's nothing serious about them. Life'd be pretty dull for us all around here if it weren't for them.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Oh, those pesky little men. Don't talk. Drink. Some drink. And Dame Van Winkle will have a fit when she finds out I spent the night up in the mountain. Well, that's a mean trick, I'd say. Take my gun and leave me a junker. And after I helped them push that keg all the way up the hill, too. No. Oh. Oh. Oh, what's this? What's this? Some kind of memorial. I never noticed that before. Says, solemn Dutchman. Laugh and sing. Solemn Dutchman. Why, that's my song. Grimstead's Grocery? Who's Grimstead? I don't know that store. No. How can that be? Kroner's place should be up just ahead. Oh, yes, there it is. There it... But it's a ruin. I don't believe it. I must be going mad. No. It's those pesky little men. They've bewitched me. I'm still asleep and dreaming. That's it. Ow! Oh, drat. The inn. I'll go to the inn. Old Nicholas Vedder. He'll know what's happened.
And you must demand your rights if need be. This new government must be made to be responsive to the needs of the people. You there!
George Washington.
Your voice is important too.
Where am I?
It's yours, young man.
What world is this?
And mine. And all of us.
Excuse me, please. But does anyone know where Nicholas Vedder is?
Why, Nicholas Vedder has been dead and gone for 18 years, old man.
What? But that's impossible. Why, only yesterday he was sitting right there. We were talking. Franz! Franz! Don't you know me? Why, only yesterday I gave you the corn.
I am a Christian. My father's name was Franz, but he is long since dead.
Little Christian, all grown? Franz. Gone? Oh. Can you tell me the whereabouts of Dame Van Winkle?
Dame Van Winkle? Isn't that the name of the widow who moved to New England and married a tailor?
Why, I think you're right.
Does nobody here know Rip Van Winkle? I am he. That is, I was myself last night, but I fell asleep on the mountain, and they changed my gun. And everything's changed, and I'm changed, and I can't tell what my name is or who I am.
Say, isn't that the name on the memorial marker on the outskirts of town?
Van Winkle.
Maybe. Van Winkle.
Yeah. Van Winkle.
I believe it is Van Winkle.
Solemn Dutchman, we don't dance or sing.
He made the solemn Dutchman laugh and sing my song. Oh, I've been asleep a long time, and they missed me.
There is one person who would know for sure. Old Vanderdonk. He's so busy counting his money that he never comes to town. But he's been here ever since I can remember. He'd know.
Vanderdonk. Peter Vanderdonk.
That's the one.
Who's there? What do you want?
It's Rip Van Winkle, Mr. Vanderdonk.
You think I'm afraid of ghosts, do you? If you kids don't stop bedeviling an old man, I'll...
No, Mr. Vanderdonk. It really is Rip Van Winkle.
Van Winkle? Van Winkle? Why, yes! Rip Van Winkle! Where have you been? What happened? Ran off without paying the rent, you did. 4 months' rent it was.
Mr. Vanderdonk, I don't have any money. I've never had any money. But I have learned a new song, and I'd like to share it with you. Here am I, here am I, singing till evening, just a moment ago the dawn, then I turned and looked, the day's already gone, now I see ever so clearly, there's a part that's mine to play, and there's one for you if you won't turn away. You and I, we have each other. I've no silver, and I've no gold. I've no power, and I'm old. But I'm a king when I sing. Here am
Oh, yeah. Oh, Rip, you don't owe me any rent. Your song was payment in full. And in advance. Oh, it's so good to see someone from the old days. Oh, come in. You must tell me everything that's happened to you since I last saw you.
And indeed he did. Word got around that Rip had been a captive of the Catskills and knew a thing or two about their magic. He was much in demand.
about it, because, well, comets are signs.
He stayed with Peter Vanderdonk till the end of his days. And once again he made solemn Dutchmen laugh and sing, and told his stories and sang his songs, until at last there was not a man, woman, or child in the village who did not know them by heart.
And then the mountain, he says in his old wise way.
And even to this day, they feel a chill at the sound of thunder. For they know Henry Hudson and his crew are playing ninepins in the Catskills. But when Rip entertained, he always drew a crowd.
There are men, special men, born to do the work of 10. They are steel to the touch, and bet your life those men are Dutch. We are such men, solemn Dutchmen, no need to applaud. We are stronger, we'll work longer, and we just thank God for work. Ask him why he does toil every moment in the soil. He'll reply square to you, what else would a real man do? We are such men, solemn Dutchmen, we don't dance or sing. May our neighbor have her labor, each day bring more work. Every night you in the dirt, you must live for one thing.
Rip! Meet old Vanderdonk's coming! He's coming, Rip!
I hear you, Van Winkle. I'd know you're stupid singing anywhere. Singing and dancing when you can't even pay for the roof that shelters you. My roof, I might add. My roof, my house, my land. Now where's my rent?
I'll have it soon, Mr. Vanderdonk. Really, I will.
If you don't, you'll have the toe of my boot applied swiftly to the seat of the problem.
But I mean it this time, Mr. Vanderdonk. I've got a good crop for the first time since...
Crop? What do you raise, Van Winkle? Besides dust, I mean.
Cabbage and corn, sir. And after it's sold, I'll pay you what I owe you, and I lost only 2 or 3. Then that should be 11, perhaps 10. 48.
There wasn't even enough money to pay the back rent.
Oh, dear. That won't do.
Dame Van Winkle would never understand. And Mr. Vanderdonk would surely throw them out. Rip thought the problem through in every way he knew. But no matter which way he looked at it, it seemed hopeless.
What am I going to do now? I'm going to go squirrel hunting. That's what I'm going to do.
Hear the birds singing. Where do they learn that tune they know? When the birds winging, how does he know which way to go? Hear the wind blowing. Nobody told the wind to blow. Still it keeps whispering something that's sweet and soft and low. Sun shining, moving real slow from day to day. Well, maybe he's lazy, but I think he's okay. Nobody pushes the river, it simply does the best it can. What does it take to be free as a river if you're born a simple man?
No. Hold on, Heidi, old girl. It must be the back hitch first. Then over and under. Yes, that's it.
Rip Van Winkle, what are you doing now?
I'm harnessing the horse. We're nearly ready to leave.
Do you plan to sell that as a sack, Rip? Or will you just auction it off one cob at a time?
Will you look at that? Sometimes I think that corn has a mind of its own.
We're in more trouble than I thought if the corn is doing all the thinking.
Don't you worry. We'll have more than enough for the rent. This is a good crop. Hello, Franz. Oh, Heidi.
Hello, Rip.
Franz, I heard about your fire. Thank goodness no one was hurt. You know, there is no justice. Here I am with a cart full of cabbage and corn, and you have nothing.
No, Rip. We will manage.
Let me help, Franz. How can I enjoy my good fortune when you have none?
Well, If you think that you can spare it, I will take 2 sacks from the back. And I will not forget what you have done. You are a generous man, but don't forget, it is no sin for a man to watch out for his own. Goodbye, Rip, and thank you.
Goodbye, my friend. Okay, Heidi, you've got a lighter load now. Let's go. How can that be? If Franz took 2 sacks...
There's magic in the Catskill Mountains, and folks who lived here felt it all around them. The Indians claimed the mountains were home to their spirits. And the legend of the early Dutch settlers tells of the ghosts of Henry Hudson and his crew, who roam these mountains still. Around here, they still tell the story of a man who met the magic of the Catskills head on. His name was Rip Van Winkle.
To be the problem here.
Nathan's kite won't fly, and I told him it was because he doesn't have a tail.
Oh, don't be silly. If Nathan had a tail, he wouldn't need a kite. He could fly himself.
And so the old woman was able to spin her entire basket of yarn to go. And never again did they have to toil.
If you could spin that yarn into a sweater, at least you'd be warm.
Plainly speaking, he was lazy. For this shortcoming, some of his industrious neighbors considered him a fool.
And a month in advance.
You'll pay me a month in advance when the Hudson runs uphill, Van Winkle. You have 2 weeks to pay what you owe me, or out you go!
Oh, that miser Vanderdunk.
I wonder why he has to be
Got
so
about as much
mean.
common sense as a ghost. Well, his own is rusting on its hinges. Come on, Rip, play another song.
Some more music.
No, I better go sack the corn.
Corn don't jump into the sacks all by itself.
Yeah, me too.
You know, Rip, old age has very little to recommend it, but at least I can do as I please. Sometimes the difference between the wise man and the fool is little more than some gray hairs and a cane.
Oh, yeah. Sure, Mr. Vetter. Well, I'd better be off if I'm going to get that corn to market. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, first things first. You take the kite over to the opposite hill.
Okay, I'm on my way.
And yes, you two, unwind the string. That's good.
This way. Got it? Okay, good.
Huh? Okay. How are we doing over there?
Ready!
Oh, everyone quiet. Let her go! over and...
Oh my god, this is awesome. I'm gonna post it on that website. It has like a tetrahedral shape around it, and it goes from red to blue, and it has points coming out of it. I can see them right now. And it's like oscillating. Give me the cigarette. No, you don't. It's amazing. Look at it. It's fucking oscillating. There you go. It's getting even more profound. It's going like in circles slow. That's like a UFO. Shut up. It's going red. Wait, I'm staying out here. I'm staying out here and watching it. I've waited a long time to see one of these. I'll be in a few minutes, but I'm going to look at it for a little bit. That's crazy. Look at it. It has this shape to it where... Oh my god, I can't believe that I'm seeing one. Here. I'll be in like 5 minutes. I want to look at this thing. Lost it. So it's up there somewhere. It hasn't moved. We've been watching it for about 5 minutes and it hasn't moved. Trying to zoom in on it again. I lost the thing. Okay. There it is. There it is in the distance. There. Right above that chimney. There it is. I'm gonna zoom in on it now. It's sat there for about 10 or 15 minutes, I think. And it doesn't move, and I see stuff coming out of the top of it. And it looks like it has spikes on the side. I can see it, but the camera's not good enough to pick it up. And it's switching red, blue, and now it looks like it has a very prominent outline. I lost it on camera again, but I'd rather watch it. My battery's dying. There it is. See how it's going red, blue, red, blue? It's hard to zoom in on it. There it is. See it flickering up there? It's over the chimney on that house. Red, blue, red, blue. He says it's a star, but I know what it is. We've had a lot of UFO sightings around here recently, and there you go, Ilion, New York. A little after midnight, August 11th, 2013. The truth is out there. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna stop recording it now. I think I got enough.
20 people are dead following